There are many locations in gaming deemed to be iconic. Think of Columbia from BioShock Infinite, Vice City from GTA, and Rainbow Road from Mario Kart. But when it comes to recognizability, none compared to the beloved and outstanding Wuhu Island from the Wii Sports series. There is something about this island that captured the imagination of various players across the world, myself included. But what exactly? Is it simple nostalgia or genius in game design? What makes Wuhu Island so beloved? First things first, roll the intro. In case you're not familiar with this location, Wuhu Island is the main setting for the Wii series of games, more specifically Wii Sports Resort, but also Wii Fit and Pilot Wings. At first glance, Wuhu may appear to be an island like many others seen in gaming, not that different from Delfino from Super Mario Sunshine or Outset from Zelda Wind Waker, yet I can assure you that its popularity is unmatched. Not only this is one of the few worlds reused between Nintendo franchises, with the most known example being Mario Kart 7, but Wuhu Island is the protagonist of various mods all across gaming. From Garry's mod to Sonic Generation to Mini Metro to even a custom racetrack in Assetto Corsa, this island is far-reaching and adored by everybody. Very recently, the user AtomicLugia recreated the whole island in Unity for its 15th anniversary, making it explorable by foot. And mind you, this is not an enormous island, we are not speaking of thousands of square kilometers like Just Cause 2, but rather a small hub with a resort, a couple of dirt roads and a volcano, not exactly something extraordinary never seen in gaming before or after. And yet, just yet, after so many years, everyone still remembers Wuhu Island with a smile on their faces, myself included. There is a charm like no other that is not found anywhere else in the digital universe, one that can only be found on this Wii era at all. It is not solely nostalgia either. I strongly believe that Wuhu Island strikes a perfect balance when it comes to designing an asymmetric open world, a balance we have not seen replicated since. Sure, we have seen developers making iconic worlds, but hardly ever worlds that function as they did in Wii Sports. So, as you might have guessed, the reasons why we all love Wuhu to the point we've modded this island in virtually all games we have are many. In my opinion, these reasons are grouped into three main arguments. First, the design of the island itself, second, how it appears in its user light in Wii Sport Resort, and lastly, the vibe the island evokes. The combination of these three factors make Wuhu iconic, but let me explain how. I described Wuhu Island as an asymmetric open world, and this was no accident. You see, despite the recently fan-created game, Wuhu Island itself is not freely explorable like a regular open world for the time, but rather adopts a different strategy, something quite unique not often seen in games these days. In the game made to promote the new exclusive Wii Motion Plus accessory, the player has available 12 sports, with usually 2 to 3 different modes to play. These sports, as you might have guessed by now, take place in specific parts of the same island, some with dedicated buildings such as the Sword Fighting Stadium and the Bowling Alley, while others take part all across the isle. None of the minigames but one lets the player explore the map freely. However, the interesting bit is that there is an overlap between the different sections where the sports take place, both visually as well as practical. While riding your bike across downtown, you might spot the basketball court. While practicing your archery, you might spot the lake where you practice your canoeing, and so on. The design of the isle is flexible in a way that a specific area can be reused for multiple sports, letting the player explore the relatively small world in various different ways. The same geographical part of the map can and it is used for different things. That is partially why Wuhu Island can be found in both different official games as well as mods. In Mario Kart 7, Nintendo did not hesitate to make not one but 2 circuits out of the iconic location, Wuhu Loop and Maka Wuhu, tracks remade later by fans in Assetto Corsa and Sonic Generations. Both Nintendo as well as fans understood how modular the main island and the smaller rocks around it can be when designing different gaming experiences. Not many worlds that I know of can brag the same modularity. Sure, Kamurocho was used in Tennen plus Yakuza, Judgment and Like a Dragon games, but it could hardly work in other contexts. Can you imagine the dynamic sandbox made for Sunset Overdrive used for another title? Say, an FPS game like Left 4 Dead? The developers can certainly try, but it is clear that Sunset City was made for Sunset Overdrive, at most a potential sequel. The structure of the open world needs a specific moveset and gameplay dynamic in order to be navigated. Wuhu Island was designed with all sorts of minigames in mind, with all sorts of needs. Do you need a beach for a frisbee minigame? You got it. Do you need a cozy hotel for a ping pong table? There it is. Do you need a vast golf course to play 18 holes? The archipelago suits this task. The island and its surrounding and sky are more than sufficient for all minigames envisioned, with some room to spare for other projects despite its small size. Speaking of, how big is Wuhu Island? I do not like to use hectares to measure a digital world as explained in a past discussion, but in general we can define the map to be somewhat small, especially when compared to modern titles. From the screenshot alone, you can see more than half the landmarks. But of course, as I always preached, a digital open world is nothing when it's poorly implemented, big or small that is. Wuhu Island is an open world well used by the game for the reasons that I already shared. The various minigames not only share some key locations, but are able to give them a completely different perspective, making the player feel they are nearly exploring new areas in this apparent vast playground. There was thought and care for details when spacing out the various activities in the island, as it is clearly shown in the one minigame that does allow the player to roam freely, the island flyover. This minigame was so beloved that a whole separate spin-off game was made for the 3DS, a game that unfortunately I never played. This is a solo sport that allows the player to move freely across Wuhu during daytime, sunset and nightfall, letting the player discover all the landmarks clearly indicated and ready to be found. The idea to fly over the map rather than to drive or walk is actually pretty smart, because it allows the player to appreciate the verticality of the open world, to explore the inland from all sorts of angles rather than on a flat plane. This is yet another trick to highlight the vast opportunities a smaller open world can have. Of course, I would welcome some refinements to some key areas, and perhaps a slight enlargement so that the isle could include more facilities, such as a baseball court like the one seen in the previous game. Still, I would say that the scale of the world for the scope it had in Wii Sport Resort is just right, and it is future-proof since it can be adjusted for modern consoles as we saw in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But Wuhu Island is not just a functional polygon, it has its own charm and identity, one that made the isle so lovely and remembered by millions of Wii owners. Wuhu is, as the name of the game it debuted suggests, a cozy resort, a paradise that is welcoming to all new players. And what a welcome it gets! The first minute you start playing the game, your Mii skydives to the island, with the banger of the theme song playing in the background. It is clear from the very beginning that it is the location herself to be the protagonist of the title, with you as the player as the main passenger for the ride. The world is picturesque, bright, colorful, elegant in its simplicity. Sure, the Wii struggled to compete graphically with the PS3 and Xbox 360 back in 2009, but Nintendo was capable to compensate what they lack in world console power in aesthetic beauty. After 15 years from its release, this game still looks splendid, and the island herself full of life. The iconic Miis also help, they mesh well with the overall aesthetic of the resort. Again, Wuhu feels quite cozy, and it is something that I do miss in this gaming generation. If anything, I will go the extra mile and claim that Wuhu Island is the reason why this new entry worked, and why the spiritual sequel it got in Nintendo Land for the Wii U partially didn't. Nintendo Land had a similar gaming structure to Wii Sport Resort, a minigame collection made to showcase the potential of the motion control of the console. However, in my opinion, it lacked an engaging overworld that linked all these games. The hub is bland, filled with decorations but with little to no substance. Wuhu, on the other hand, gave a strong identity to Wii Sport Resorts, one that is stronger even to the first Wii Sport title bundling with the console. Wuhu became synonymous with the console as a whole, an achievement no other open world can brag about for their own platform. To this day, as introduced, the map is modded into everything for how iconic it is. Sure, the fact that the game sold 30 million plus copies certainly helped, but even a bestseller like Far Cry 3 does not see Hard Rock Islands remade into The Crew or Assassin's Creed, even if those islands could potentially work if given the right adjustments. Meanwhile, apart from a potential new sports or fit entry, I can definitely see Wuhu Island being used for genres of games not yet explored by Nintendo. A game series like Animal Crossing or Tomodachi Life would fit perfectly in this scaled world. A new Pikmin game could have the protagonist land in various parts of the isle, and of course, just like Paldea, you could definitely fill this place with Pokémons to catch. Both from a design and an aesthetic point of view, this map could work for a great variety of games. If modders were able to place it in virtually everywhere, Nintendo can certainly do the same for her upcoming games. There is something that is truly captivating about Wuhu Island that, despite my analysis, I cannot put into words. A magic like no other that combined with an excellent design, a great use of such design in gaming, and yes, perhaps a little bit of nostalgia, makes Wuhu Island an excellent open world, beloved by us all. As stated in the very first line of the video, there are many locations in gaming deemed to be iconic, but none compared to Wuhu Island. After re-exploring the Wii title, I realized how stunning and well designed this tropical island is, and why it gets modded in virtually every game that supports the community workshop. From its celestial shores to the white ceiling of Maca Peak, Wuhu will forever be remembered as the virtual Nintendo theme park of a more simple era, one that I will welcome back with great joy. Wuhu Island is iconic, and I would be very pleased for her to make a great return. If you made it this far, I wanted to thank you one too many Wuhu Island stands for watching today's video. It is always a great joy to make a dedicated video for a digital world that I adore, and Wuhu was on my list for far too long. Did you also enjoy roaming around Wuhu? Please let me know. I wish you all a wonderful day, and until next time, arrivederci!